can say it's a natural flavour, but then it's not. You know, it might have one natural thing in there and the other 47 are not natural. And it's the same with colouring, and it's all these new names that are coming out. They've all got patents, they're intellectual properties, and when you read the patent, it's like a scientific experiment, and they're putting it into our food.
One of the most fascinating people I met when I was in Australia was a beautiful, beautiful woman named Cyndi O'Meara. She's the woman who was behind the documentary What's with Wheat. And she has this whole kind of empire about eating habits and nutritional coaching called Changing Habits. The reason I liked her so much is because she just talks in kind of common sense ways about why it matters what's in our food and why we should pay attention to the ingredients in the food we're eating. And it makes all the difference. So check out our conversation that we had in her beautiful place in Australia.
Cyndi, I'm so excited to talk to you because you've written Lab to Table, and I want to ask you, what was your first aha when you realized something's up with our food, they're messing with it in a way they shouldn't?
Yeah, it was university. So I had seen the cultures and traditions of people and saw how they ate for millenniums. And I want to be a dietitian. I think this is great. So I'm at university doing my Bachelor of Science, majoring in nutrition, and I'm learning about margarine and low fat and prepared foods and peg feeding and nasogastral feeding. And I'm looking at the ingredients and I'm thinking, this has nothing to do with the way we used to eat. And margarine, I think, was my first aha because it was made with partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. And in 1978, there was people talking about the dangers of trans fats. But it wasn't until 2000 plus that the public learnt about it. So I was reading about it, the diglycerides, the colours, the flavours. So I can see margarine and it looks like that. But then I started to delve into the ingredient, how it was made, what's in that. And like natural flavouring, I found that at minimum it will have 48 chemicals in it.
But they're still allowed to label it natural,
Yep.
even though it's just a chemical concoction.
It's just a chemical concoction. And there is in Australia, and our industry is for SANS, that is our regulatory industry, so Food Standards Australia and New Zealand. They have no regulation around the word natural. None.
I think it's the same in the US.
Yeah. So people can say it's a natural flavour, but then it's not. You know, it might have one natural thing in there and the other 47 are not natural. And it's the same with colouring, and it's all these new names that are coming out. They've all got patents, they're intellectual properties. And when you read the patent, it's like a scientific experiment, and they're putting it into our food.
But I don't understand why this university is still teaching that we should eat these kind of foods. Like, how could they do that? Training the dietitians to guide people to eat these fake foods.
I don't understand either. I would say it's funding. That's the only thing I can put it down to, because I learnt that in the 80s, and I have nutrition students who come and want to work with me, and they'll have been teaching. They've been teaching the same thing. They're still teaching the old cholesterol thing. They're still, like, I had this one young girl work for me recently, and I asked her to do a meal plan for me for somebody, and it was an egg white omelet. I thought that went out in the 80s, you know, I really did. But she did an egg white omelet, and I went, she's not learning what I thought they should be learning. So
the 80s called, they want their omelet back.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
what
yeah,
the heck?
yeah.
Now, what do you think are the worst foods, the foods that are most tampered with, the foods that you would recommend that we avoid because they're not real at all? Yesterday you said breakfast cereal, I felt like, right?
Oh yes, I did say breakfast cereal, yeah. So a breakfast cereal is just a wheat grain or a barley grain or whatever, corn or whatever, that's probably been monocultured, so its agricultural practices are probably not good, so there's probably chemicals in it, so that's a start. But then they take out all the goodness, but then they have to add back the nutrients, so they put in synthetic vitamins and mined minerals, but then it tastes revolting, so they have to add a flavour, and then it has no colour, so they add a colour to it, and then now they're putting rosemary extract in it, which is just another name for an antioxidant that's synthetically made, and then they'll put a vegetable powder, and that was my first clue, is that I was looking at the breakfast cereal about probably 10 years ago, and I went, why are they putting rosemary extract in there? What is rosemary extract? Because they wouldn't put anything in that's good. That's the way I saw it. And then I went on a bit of a journey with rosemary extract and found the patent and read what they do and how they make it, and that they call it rosemary extract because nobody wants numbers anymore. They don't want the numbering system anymore.
I see.
So
they don't want to see red dye number 5 on the package.
No, they want to see maybe beta carotene or turmeric, or it'll be curcumin. But curcumin is made synthetically. 70% of the curcumin out there on the market today is synthetically made. And that's the extract of turmeric. And beta carotene is also made synthetically. It's not extracted from food. They figured out how to make it.
And consequently, we might think we're eating a healthy food when it says clean ingredients or natural on the package. Even healthy foods. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think your husband told me that some corporations think, okay, we've got the cleanest product ever, but when you start delving in, as you're consulting with them, you're realizing they need to be made aware that this is not the true deal.
Yeah. What happens is that, I can blame the food manufacturers, but it's not them. I think they're there to make a product that's good and cheap. And they make it cheaply because they want, money for either their shareholders or for the people that work for them. So they have to make a profit. So they have no idea about food. They're not a nutritionist. So they hire a food chemist. So a food chemist understands that if I put this flavor in and this color in, and I put an acidity regulator in and I do this, then we can make this thing that we're feeding the public look like food, taste like food, and smell like food, but isn't food. So the company that my husband's talking about, they sent me the ingredients of their cookie, and they were really proud of their cookie. And I looked at it and I just said, well, you could put those 100 ingredients into 5. It's just flour, sugar, eggs, and chocolate chip cookies. They had, I think it was chocolate chip, and butter. But they had definitely, I don't even think flour was their first ingredient. Oh, the chocolate chip was. But the chocolate chip was made with 10 ingredients with lecithin and a flavour and a colour and then probably white sugar. And I went, well, why can't you just use a chocolate chip that's got 2 ingredients, which is the cacao and rapadura sugar? Why can't we do that? And then margarine was the next ingredient. And then, of course, there's 15 other ingredients under margarine, such as vegetable oils, but there could be a mix of fine vegetable oils, and they could be soya and canola and cottonseed. And then after that, there was diglycerides and a flavour and a colour. And then they had an emulsifier instead of an egg. And you taste the cookie. Like, I can taste it and I can't stand it.
Oh, you can tell the difference.
Oh, I know. If you put 2 cookies in front of me and they look the same, I'll taste them and I'll know. Because I don't eat that stuff. But if you're eating that all the time, your taste buds are very excited. And you need things that will excite them, and the flavours have a way of exciting them.
But let's say we eat them either unwittingly, or we think, what's the big deal about lecithin or these emulsifiers? Like, why are you so passionate about making sure we know what's in our food?
Oh, I've been doing it for 4 decades. In the 80s, I took people off breakfast cereals, I took them off lean cuisine, healthy choice, whatever, and put them on a real food diet. Just all real food, and you would see miracles happen. And now what I'm seeing is that I'm not even getting them well. So we have a sicker society. I have to go to an extreme diet in order to get them well. And that might be eliminating so many foods to just so that they can tolerate, heal their gut, heal the microbiome, and then we can start to introduce those foods into it. So I think generationally, our microbiome is eroding. Agricultural-wise, we're using a product that's an antibiotic that is decimating us, and it's in all of our foods. So,
which product is that?
Glyphosate.
Yeah,
Glyphosate. We'll round up in Australia we have 596 registered glyphosate-containing products.
No way.
And it's used everywhere in Australia. Like, most of Australia is being sprayed with it.
And our bodies react to it as if it were an antibiotic.
Definitely. Yep. And a lot of other ways as well. So it will, it will take minerals out of our system. It stops the shikimate pathway, which produces our tyrosine, tryptophan, phenylalanine, folic acid, enterobacter, now iron carrier, coenzyme Qs. So we're slowly losing the ability to make the things that help us think, to create health in our body. And when you compound that with all of these other additives, and there are 3,500 flavors out there that I know of. 3,500.
3,500.
Yeah. And none of them are real because international flavors and fragrances, they have a monopoly on it. And they do fragrance and they do flavor. And now they're calling natural flavor a natural aroma. So you kind of go, what's a natural aroma?
Just relabeling to add to the confusion.
Yep.
So the main thing for us to do is to pay attention to the ingredients in our food, or look for one ingredient foods, right?
Yeah. I'm one person who, and there's a lot of people that believe this, but I'm someone who has always believed this, is I have the one ingredient pantry. And the one ingredient pantry is that in my pantry I have lots of one ingredients. So I have my nuts and my seeds and my salts and my spices and my herbs. And then my fridge has all my fruits and my vegetables and my dairy and all of those. So but they're always one ingredient. And then from there I can make 1,000 foods, different foods. I can ferment my foods. And people are probably thinking, oh, come on, that's too hard. I can't do that. And I kind of go, well, if you don't take the time for your health right now, then you're going to have to take a lot of time later for illness. And the statistics go that the last 15 years of our life, we're on medications, we live a less than optimal life, and we live with a major chronic disease in our last 15 years of life. So if you're going to live to 75 from 60, which is my age, so for the next 15 years, I'm going to be chronically ill, and then I'm going to die? No way.
No way to go.
No way, So what I do is I do the best for my body. And by me doing the best for my body, then I'm powerful as an activist. Because I'm not purchasing those foods that are made by chemical companies that fool the food industry to use them because they're cheap ingredients that then feed the population, that is now costing our government and your government. Well, your government has gone broke with healthcare.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we're still a socialist healthcare government, but and people get free healthcare, but it's not going to be for much longer because people are so sick that we're going broke as a result of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, billions of dollars are being spent.
So the idea is to take our health back into our own hands by eating one ingredient foods or making a mix of things with those one ingredient pieces. And she just made me the most amazing breakfast with all these solitary ingredients. Tell them what you made me because it was fantastic.
I made you just a little egg, like a little egg dish, I guess it was, and I put it in a little patty. So I fried up some garlic and some onion, put that in the bottom, grated some zucchini, then I put some fresh herbs from my farm into that, so I put some thyme and some rosemary into that, then whipped up the eggs from my chickens. And this is the extreme, because I'm so passionate about it.
Absolutely.
And then I put some salt and pepper in there, so organic always. My salt was Himalayan with seaweed in it, so you got some iodine.
Wow.
And then I just put it in the oven. It took like 10 minutes. And then I cut up some sweet potato and some pumpkin, and I laid some prosciutto on it that's only cured with salt, nothing else, no nitrates. It's an amazing prosciutto.
Yes.
So I laid that over it, put that in the oven. Then I made you some pesto and mayonnaise that I'd made yesterday. So all
and
from
a little avocado
yeah,
on the side.
an avocado.
Everything's super fresh from her farm or locally sourced. She knows the sources of her ingredients and her food, and it shows in your vibrancy and energy. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Oh, thank you, Hilda. I love what you are doing too.
Thanks for watching, you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. Subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and click on the notification bell so you can be alerted the next time I upload a video. We'll talk soon. Hasta pronto.